I'm sure that my fellow eventaholics in the audience will agree that one of the most challenging things about this pandemic has been the complete change to the way that we enjoy and experience events. I suspect that online events are here to stay in one way, shape, or form moving forward. Therefore, it is super important that we make them as inclusive as possible. Our next speaker is hoping to share some wisdom around this. Taken to the stage, next up at the 2021 CityJS conference is Bhavina. Bhavina is joining us all the way from Salem in India, where she is a Mozilla rep. In this talk, Bhavina is looking at how we can craft inclusive event spaces for neurodiverse people using web technology such as WebXR. Fantastic stuff. I've really been looking forward to this talk all through the conference. If at the end of it you have any questions for Bhavina, please do join me in the Q&A session, which will be starting on GatherTown straight after this talk, as well as post along on Twitter using the hashtag CityJS2021 and keep those comments rolling in wherever you are watching along online. Bhavina, without further ado, it is my pleasure to hand the stage over to you.
Hello, awesome people. This is BHUVANA Meenakshhi from India. I am a socio-technology researcher at the Self-Employed Women Association in India. I am also a budding entrepreneur and very much interested in exploring virtual, augmented, and the new applications of extended reality. And I'm also um, a self-diagnosed neurodivergent, whereby I have got more interest now towards understanding the accessibility in technology, and more that since I've been already into exploring virtual spaces and also more interested in making them, I have also thought about how, from a neurodivergent perspective, the virtual spaces can look like. So, yeah, thanks CityJS for giving me this opportunity, and let's hop into the immersive experience. So, welcome to my session on neurodiversity friendly virtual spaces using WebXR. So, we are currently inside um, virtual experience, immersive experience. I'll let you know what is this and how could this be built in furthermore steps. All right, so hope my avatar looks good. And yeah, so welcome to the session. And yeah, let's just start with a few introductions on what is WebXR. So, in first place, web VR and AR are some of the popular terms, and I think like few decades now, the um, amazing virtual reality and augmented reality have been like evolving uh, based upon the needs, and also a lot of awareness now has been established on the same. So uh, virtual reality is something that's of more like giving you a more inclusive environment, where it's like really putting you into a virtual world and hinders from the real world where you are, and it's like you are surrounded totally by an alien space. So those are the virtual reality, and with web VR, it's even more easier because it's just going to be a browser. It's just like any other website that you would see. So this is like a browser and a link. You throw the link into the browser, the URL, and you'd be able to get a virtual reality experience like anywhere. And also the main reason to why the web VR started to evolve is because there were a lot of hardware constraints, and not many could afford it, and just that even if someone wants to just develop and experience a particular application, um, the hardware constraint always existed. So that's where more WebVR applications started to evolve. And WebAR is also a similar kind of a concept. And I think a lot of giant technologies have tech companies have already started to explore on the WebAR side, because WebAR is such a handy and lovely concept where it can just integrate with the existing system. Like for example, if you're already seeing me into a virtual room, so the kind of like embedding with the reality. So that's where like augmented reality, um, like the applications and also the um, interest in augmented reality started to involve in industries. And of course the Pokemon Go is one of the popular applications. And also you'd be more familiar with the Google's 3D animals, where you can view in 3D in your own space. It's like very interesting to make the kids or anyone like understand in a more real way of how the animals could actually be assumed in a 3D model. And all of this now um, paved the way to the evolution of WebXR, which is like the extended reality. Or XR is basically a term that's like, I mean, to represent any revolution um, with respect to virtual reality, augmented reality, or any of the sort. So this WebXR um, is like when WebXR is mostly like an API or device specification um, API that helps in creating experiences in a more in like a web-based environment, just like on browsers as like we have for WebVR and WebAR. So the special case of a WebXR is mostly that you could you could mainly have both the experiences together, like you, because virtual reality on its own is like having you into one specific environment where you're not accessible to something that's outside. So a touch of the reality is needed every time. So to combine and to put this application together, WebXR got its place. And also this was released by the W3C, the Web Consortium. And I guess we would also be having Ada as a speaker at CDJS, who is also chairperson of the WebXR development team. And I've also got many inspirational references when I started to self learn about WebVR, AR, and XR. So yeah, this is like a very very interesting piece of um, exploration. The very reason to it is because um, everyone wanted to explore um, virtual and augmented reality based on, because the cost and the other factors shouldn't really hinder the interest. So that's where there's like more interest in exploring paths on VR AR. And so now coming to AFrame. All right. So AFrame, I mean, when initially exploring on how WebVR works, AFrame is the most handy framework that comes with exciting, and easier for people who may not even understand programming languages. If you just have the sense of what to do and how your end result wants to be shaped up, probably that's just enough to trigger the interest in you to make a web experience with virtual reality. So AFrame is a very specific framework for WebVR, and the reason why I like AFrame is because it's a very frictionless. Um, it has a very good system where it's not like too many installations or like any extra requirement to install the plugins or anything like that. It's a very easier one to execute your outputs, and also it's very seamless, and also it doesn't have any kind of gatekeepers, uh, where it's just simple. It doesn't require any complicated things on the web to install, like um to make your experience just be um happening in a flow. It's just like very good option to make your own WebVR applications just like that. And also that the special part of the frame is that it can enable WebGL rendering, which means it can help you in in all the 3 degrees and the 6 degrees of freedom, which means in a 3 degree of freedom where we usually talk about, how, like for instance, the degrees of freedom is nothing but when you have your mobile phone with your application and try to move the mobile phone, because it's a virtual space, you may want the screen to move the way you're watching, like the camera needs to move the way you're looking at into the virtual space. So that's possible, as the uh, A-frame is very much good in handling such degrees of freedoms, like up to 6 degrees of freedom. and um and also, let's say if you are making an application in like which is supported by 3.js, or um or even like vue.js or react or anything of the sort, you can just use the components from A-frame and integrate and make it into a beautiful virtual reality application. So it's just flexible, and also it's more about just the entity component based system. So if you just know like what's your object, you can create your own object, or like you can just use the objects that's like available on the registry, and uh, just add attributions to it, just make it more, uh, make the object more come more lively. So I think that's it. Like if you understand the basic concepts of the A-frame, it's super easy to create your own uh, virtual reality spaces, or like virtual reality models, 3D models. So um, popularly A-frame, like before I knew what was A-frame, I think virtual reality applications were made in 3.js. So A-frame also uses 3.js, but it's made the work for us more simple, um, by giving us this system of entity component based. So it just makes it works more simpler, and we can just concentrate more on what application needs to be and how we can enhance them. So um and then let's then move forward um for our next piece about the spoke. So if you had have had a chance to look at yeah, before that, let me tell you what is um, Mozilla Hubs. So Mozilla Hubs is just, I mean, we are already into the Mozilla Hubs. So this Mozilla Hubs is such a beautiful place where you can have synchronous conversations, conferences, meetups, and a lot more. So, for example, so okay, I'm into the Mozilla, so let me just try. Okay, so this is the website of the hubs, and this is like a cool tool for having, you know, like if you want any formal events or just that for any informal hangouts, it's like best place. It's like because it has this features of three-dimensional ways of um, um, engaging the audience, and also like you can make cool avatars, and also have a lot of engaging elements. I think like um, hubs is like the I would say it gives like kind of inspiration to what you may call as the um, extended reality or like an immersive experience. So this is so let us just try to first enter um, into the building. So you can choose your own avatars. um like they're lovely avatars. So I'm just choosing a polar bear sweater. So it's going okay, so simple. So we just enter into this awesome building of architecture. um and if you see, it's like more seamless and just like easy to understand stuff. um and there's like I mean, there are awesome number of screens that's like all the scenes, the background scenes that's like already available, so you can choose them. I just kind of like customize this with some avatars and some, and I just try to make my presentation within the immersive experience, so you understand the immersive experience um, just as we go through the concepts. So it gives you very fine detail understanding of the buildings. So for example, if I would try to uh, move away from the rails here on the sides, it doesn't really allow you to do that because it has the boundaries, and you can basically set the boundaries to which the viewer can actually look into, and you can basically make it more realistic. And yeah, this has like awesome features in it. So you can place here another avatar or scene, or you can load any awesome um, GIFs that you would really like to look there. Awesome, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, and like awesome number of features. You can also bring in your own customized pictures, or if you would like to also write or do anything, um, basically, you know, like there is also a very good feature here called Art Tilt Brush, and that's like you know that's also one of the uh, things which Mozilla had done with regard to creating a very artistic room where you use a tilt brush and make it more like a three-dimensional kind of a design, and this is very interesting. And and also, like, if you're having a whole bunch of conversations and want to add any reacting icons, you can also give them um, you know like claps or hearts or anything of the sort. And also this has like a awesome chat feature which you can use. It's like very interesting. And just that you need to hit the invite button to invite your friends. And there's like also you can share this you share your presentations or any of your live streaming videos and stuff here. um, and it has basically all the basic controls and all the things that you want to change with respect to the room, like any scenes that you want to change and stuff. There's like there are a bunch of scenes that you can choose from the very default. You can do that. Now coming to Spoke. So Spoke is something um, is just like a very easier you know um, tool that's really going to help you um, to make your own space. So like this particular virtual space, you can create your own one just without any uh, 3D design experience, or like without just using any other external softwares. I mean, um, any heavy loaded softwares, just not essential for you when you do in Spoke. And it's like super easy to create your own uh, virtual spaces, and the like extremely like the way you want it to. um, you can just customize spaces. And also Spoke has a feature to import the objects from Google or like Sketchfab poly models. The only part of the hubs which I felt of a little more of improvement is with regard to the bandwidth, and also like usage of the low poly models. Um, the reason to it is, if that um, um, you sharing, or like you're doing a more community space for people to cover from the countries who have like the regions who have like low bandwidth areas. That's like a more um you know challenging, but once that you get connected and once that the frames load, it's superb interesting. And it's that kind of a immersive experience that everyone would like to have. So let's go further. All right. So as I told already, I'm a self-diagnosed neurodivergent, and I've been like exploring to see how various spaces can be made neurodivergent friendly. And I've also I've explored on how physical spaces can be customized to the needs of for the needs of neurodivergent people. So before going to that, I'd like just to give a kind of um, an overview to what is neurodivergent, the terms, and what is neurodiversity. So neurodiversity is basically a collective term to represent uh, a community of people who have various cognitive differences and who have like unique thinking abilities, um or like also you can say that it includes like people, um it comprises of people who have various learning disabilities. It also includes like people who have ADHD, autism, ASD, and so on. So neurodivergent is like a singular term that represents like a person who comes from the neurodiverse community. And so it's been I mean, and this particular concept in Western countries has been like extremely popular about creating workspaces, about creating um about also like understanding NDs um in common places, or like in the society itself. But I know it's like been quite challenging in the developing nations, and especially due to the lack of awareness, and also like the acceptance for it as well. So it still like needs like little more time for people uh, around us to make it understandable that being neurodivergent is unique in its own way, and it's not like something that needs to be um, you know actually treated, or like that needs a cure, or like a medical that can be like needs like a permanent cure or something. So I think that should shape up in few, like it should pick up in some time, and probably it's a way like um, people start trying and understanding things. Um, so I've like been very inspired with the BBC's concept of they have a checklist of understanding. You must visit their website to see how physical spaces and the needs of physical spaces for um, neurodivergent people in workspace, how how things can be made for them, and the specific reason why NDs would require such uh, you know um, friendly spaces is because of their um, uh, because it's easy for them to sense distractions, and anything that's like a touch, a smell, or even um it's like a noisy place, or like super crowded place can be easily distracting. Person cannot focus on on what they actually wanted to. So it's essential to consider on how NDs can have their um, friendly spaces in important gatherings and stuff. So that was about the physical space. And now let's see what I have. Okay. So I wanted to emphasize here about the virtual friendly space. So now that being in this pandemic, a lot of us have started to engage remotely, and also it's like a lot of conferences spaces have started to go more like virtually, and that it becomes now very essential for us to think how now the indies can be engaged in virtual environment, because it's easy to get distracted, and in the same time I mean it's not easier to have like at least even 50% of attention towards a particular subject in a virtual space. And in other contexts, it's also like a little overwhelming when there's like a lot of people conversing in a conference, and that you may not know what, or like it's almost like now that in virtual space it's more like we deal with a lot of strange people. We do not know whom they are. It's like it's not even very close to how things are in a physical space. So it becomes highly challenging how to engage in a virtual friendly space. And it becomes even more challenging with regard to people who develop such technologies to make them more accessible for people who have cognitive differences. So coming to the point that um, what I was thinking for as a part of creating virtual space friendly spaces with regard to WebXR, because I've been like highly thoughtful about how uh, how and what the complexity of dealing with a space in WebXR can be. Because when a space when usually, I mean, the virtual space that you choose is like up to you. In a WebXR background screen, it can be a bigger place or like a smaller one. Depends on what type of place we want to choose and stuff. But then um, there's some points that needs to be like kept in mind, or like I just like to give a few sort of like recommendations, uh, you know if that one may plan to have a more of um, like a realistic immersive space, uh, and if that you just want to ensure that NDs are also made inclusive in the specific virtual space, then what could be the kind of setup that can be imagined? So um, I've also done a desk research on to understand, how virtual spaces can be a kind of made more friendly, and and what are the needs and requirements that NDs can basically kind of expect for in such like immersive spaces. Um, so the following are the few features that I've been thinking across in setting up for an accessible uh, immersive rooms. So first one is like a kind of like a natural setup. Natural setup, in a sense, like I mean, this particular room, I took it for sample to show you that is like not having any kind of artificial lights. It's more like open and made with a lot of natural light and setup, um, maybe of a kind, or like you can choose to also make it a more greenery place, because the natural reflections of light, if it's like too much, it may distract uh, the person, or like if it's too low, it's also not sufficient. So make sure when you create an when you create a space for specific to NDs, or like if you create a huge space and want to have like a small space for the NDs, just make sure there's like different types of lights that you can actually specify on the spoke. So the ambience light, and the there's also this spotlight. So you may need to be very careful in choosing the ratios of the light density, so that it's not like and also these are like these also are kind of stuff that has to go more compatible with the screen layers. So you're not like really into the space, but then it's like also the colors that come out of the screen. So make sure. that they are highly composed, um, thoughtfully, and of course, there's like the silent rooms or the escape rooms is like best part of any physical conference. There's like a lot of silent rooms and stuff, which like basically for people who do not want to interact, or like probably uh, are not well, because huge number of audience, like if you go to a more of like a gathering setup, it's like too many people talking and stuff, so it may not be easier for people to handle it. So we there are silent rooms, like I mean a few conferences that have seen specifically. Now that same can be mimicked in a virtual friendly space where entering into a particular room, like which is called as a silent room, like people can enter there only in a more muted state, um like with the microphones off, or like having like lesser accessibility to doing any other kind of distracted works. So that's a kind of a silent room. And also like a silent room can also disable the sounds from the external rooms, or like the rooms that's like attached nearer to it. um and also instructions or signboards at every place can really helpful, especially when these are the kind of you know I mean when these are more of like a kind of spaces which are like I mean of a 360-degree, they're more like confusing uh, what and where you have to seek for, or like guidance, or like even if I have to go beneath the staircase, I would prefer to see a signboard somewhere here. So kind of such I just saw a signboard downstairs, but couldn't find one on the top. All right. So such kind of you know specific signboards and stuff, like how you would mimic a physical space, can be of just like easier help to people to engage um, more smoothly. And also, as I said like earlier, choose of the pop like proper colors. They're not like very bright and dashing colors. Instead, it could be just light and warm, and very like could be less distractive. um or like where there's needs, like where there's like a need for it to be bright, uh, and like for example like giving a warning or something, so it's like brighter, super. So um it's up to the designer to um to understand what needs more importance and what needs less importance with making a kind of a virtual space. And also some indie friendly activities. So a lot of people love various kind of indie activities. So probably kind of these kind of pens and stuff would also help in you know um making like just give the people a kind of a relaxation, like basically scratching somewhere, or um doing a lot of some kind of indie friendly activities, could basically make the person feel more engaged to the space. And yeah, likewise, um they're like pretty more cool things that which cannot be done in physical space can be used in a virtual space to engage um, neurodivergent communities and make it more inclusive for them. So so these part I mean these few suggestions which I gave is just that, I mean, for anyone who is going to make a virtual friendly space, or like a virtual space that could be more friendly for the indies, or or in otherwise, if that you're planning for a physical setup and wanted to give it a try, like a prayer, like a rehearsal with the your people, or like with the NDs in your in your workspace, to see if that's going to work for them. Probably this can be like a simulation activity that can help in such cases as well. So let's on further. And this is like best view, towards, like, it's almost like a horizon. And this is the beautiful setup architecture of the whole building. That's nice. So yeah, we're almost towards the end, and so hope your next virtual space, or like your next remote event, is ND friendly, that is like neurodivergent friendly, and hope this um I would say, like, this traverse into the immersive experience of Mozilla Hubs and WebXR um, was interesting. And thanks for attending my session, and thanks for being at CityJS. Thank you. Bye.
Bhavina, thank you very much for that super informative talk about crafting immersive spaces using WebXR, which are neurodiverse friendly. I'm sure that somebody in this audience will be inspired to create something awesome based off the back of that talk, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be having a future CityJS conference using WebXR thanks to this talk. Everyone watching along, please join me in giving Bhavuna an amazing round the world round of applause. Now, if you have any questions for Bhavuna, we will be having a Q&A session any moment now over on GatherTown. So head over there, get your questions at the ready, and enjoy that Q&A. If you're not on GatherTown, please do keep posting along on Twitter using the hashtag CityJS2021, as well as keep the comments rolling in over on YouTube. There it is. Bhavana, what a fantastic talk. I'm sure that there are loads of people at home right now wanting to build event spaces using XR technologies. Congratulations on that amazing talk. Extra little round of applause for you. A little birdie just whispered into my ear that you won the competition from Contentful, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm just excited about it. Thank you very much. And also, yeah, I wasn't just expecting that, but then, yeah, just like lucky day to me. So thank you very much for hosting up this good event, and I'm so excited for the Q&A as well.
Excellent. And the audience is excited for this Q&A too, because we've had questions coming in thick and fast. I think you've actually got the most questions out of everybody so far. So obviously
Thank
people
you.
really enjoyed your talk. Um,
Thank you.
we will jump straight into the questions.
Mhm.
So this person's asking about Mozilla's Spoke. Can you use Spoke outside of Mozilla Hubs?
All right. So initially, I mean, now the Spoke has been designed for the Mozilla Hubs, specifically to design 3D social scenes there, and I think like it's most more useful to export the scenes that you create to the hubs directly. So I mean, that's the basic intention behind making it. Um, but what I can say is probably if you want to use it out of the hubs, it's also about the compatibility features of exporting the necessary files, that because each and every web-based reality applications differ in terms of their components in their structure. So I'd say that Spoke has been specifically designed for this. So but what I can say is you can export and reuse the Spoke file from one of your Spoke account to another, and it's just like you have the it's more of like you have the source code and just export the actual file with the .spoke file name and use it for like remixing with another scene on Spoke itself, and then take it to the hubs.
Okay, so this chap is out of luck if he thinks he can use it without Mozilla Hubs, and got to
Yeah,
use.
yeah. It's more of like I think ways other um, like web-based extended reality applications have their ways own tools to do that, to do like to develop the spaces for their applications. So yeah, so it's likely that Mozilla Hubs can I mean Mozilla Hubs can have their spaces being created through Spoke.
Okay, perfect answer. So we've had another question here, and it's about gaze as an interaction mode in AFrame. And they're saying that this is compatible with Google Cardboard, but do you think that a Google Cardboard is good enough in that instance, or does one need a proper VR headset in order to use gaze interactions?
I would say I think just a normal cardboard is just enough to I mean get the compatibility of the 6 degrees of freedom as I earlier mentioned in the talk. So the web-based components are good enough to understand the gaze, the positions or the um, or like wherever you try to move the headset. So in a way just a normal cardboard should be fine, but if the cardboard is good enough to like have the required magnetic stuff like the gyroscopic magnets and stuff, so it's more effective to just align it with the real world.
Okay. So cardboard's good enough, but I guess it's always better to have a proper headset if you can, but cardboard is
Yeah.
good enough.
So for the safety and also to if you really worried about the experience, then I would say then go for
Okay.
more go for more advanced one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So this next person is thinking about future-proofing their spaces that they create. They've asked if they can host their own Mozilla Hubs instance, which sounds quite cool if you are able to do that. Do you know if you can?
Yeah, so the Mozilla Hubs does allow you to create like I mean if it's in terms of like your own spaces, if in terms of like your own the way, so that's where you bring it to the Spoke to remix the whole model the way we require. So you can edit using the Spoke and just with the click of like export, you can just do however you need it on the hub space. And also the codes are like open source, so you can go around it. Yeah,
So
play around it.
if you felt so inclined, you could fork that open source code and create your own
Yeah,
version from scratch. Well, not from
yeah.
scratch. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. This next person is talking about motion sickness, and they wonder if you've got any special tips to prevent motion sickness when you're in VR.
Mhm. Yeah, so I know this has been like I mean even I've experienced the strange kind of motion sickness inside a VR space, and I often like the very first time when I got introduced to a VR space, I was like, yeah, like I used to never take the headset closer to my eye. Like I need to deal it with the distance. So I felt it a bit scary as well. But I think it's all about the sound effects and also the level of animations that's there. So yeah, it's just that if we know about the build and if we know about like what we're going to experience a little like ahead, then I think then that's totally fine. But I mean, then that I would only say that if you want to avoid or like want to get rid of the motion sickness, it's just like I mean, getting yourself trained for like a journey in an airplane or like a roller coaster. So it's just like first few times you're going to feel that, and then you get used to it, or just completely avoid such kind of adventurous usages. There are various other applications that's like more calming and effective. So yeah.
It's good. I remember using the developer kit too many years ago now, and oh, that
Hmm.
did not make you feel very good. It's nice that it's come a long way since.
Yeah.
So this next one is kind of this person seems like they want some more information following on from your talk. Are you aware of any agencies or organizations or online resources which could advise on creating neurodiverse friendly virtual spaces?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question
Of
again?
of course I can. Are there any online resources or organizations which can help in creating neurodiverse event spaces?
Oh, right. So I've been like a bit checking around this while I did a small research around this while I was also before giving the compiling my talk.
Hmm.
So what I can actually see for now that's like online, which is like widely available online, I would say, is more about creating physical spaces for neurodivergent individuals, and workspaces, or like spaces inside a home or things like that, like more of like physical spaces. And I found like a good list of, like, it's like more like a checklist from the BBC. They're doing a great work in understanding, and also there's like a team which is like being dedicated to frame out various ethics, I would say, for the NDs, to be in a workspace, or like how that they can have a flexible workspace, basically in a physical orientation. But I think likely now that now it's slowly into consideration about things going online, like for making spaces online. So I think this requires a little more of deep studies, and there isn't like a standard uh, policy, or like a standard rule to it. But then I think it's like it will emerge from the ND community soon, to give out what we require on the space.
Fingers crossed, eh? I'm
Yeah.
wondering whether you've had a chance to have a look at the GatherTown, the conference setup yet. Have you popped it your head in there yet?
Yeah, like I was there the last evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked it. I also very much appreciate the private spaces, which is like very helpful in taking your own time. And also it's like that's exactly what I meant. Like, not disconnecting yourself from the application itself is a kind of something that you can take your private time. But then it's just like into the conference, and just having your own space and time is something uh, very unique, and I like that was best part of the Gather Town.
Okay. Do you think, and this will have to be a quick answer because we are running out of time, do you think that GatherTown's got
Mhm.
good potential for creating neurodiverse spaces in addition to those private spaces that you found?
Yeah, obviously. So I would have appreciated a small space there, like how there was like various sections of spaces for like various discussions and stuff. So maybe a small space for the neurodivergents to go there and carry out some kind of the activities that's more suitable for them. And so that would have been even more uh, way more like inclusive and like a specific way around table for them.
Okay, well, we're a very agile team here. I'm sure as a organization, we're going to be rolling that into the next version. So thank you very much for that feedback. We are
Yeah, sure, sure.
we're very quickly running out of time, but I have some rapid fire questions for you if you don't mind answering them. And the first
Hmm.
one is tabs or spaces?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
When you're programming, do you use tabs or spaces to indent your code?
Tabs.
Tabs. Oh, that's controversial. That's controversial. Most people have gone for spaces, but tabs are the perfect way to do it, right? The key's exactly there.
Yeah, like I feel them easier that way.
Excellent.
Yeah, like but then at points it doesn't suit at the points like when I need to in certain uh, places where I have to maintain about the way I need the structure of the code to happen, and to jump to a new line or something of that sort. Um, and also in terms of, I mean, in terms of like getting a good round structure, I think a tab is easier for me to maintain the uniform spaces.
That is the best argument I've ever heard for tabs, I will admit. So nice one on that. Front end or back end development? Which one do you enjoy the most?
I enjoy the front end.
Excellent.
Yeah, because
And
that's where like I like the creativity.
yeah, I'm fully with you. And I think a lot of people at this conference are the same. And finally, one last question. Apples
Yeah,
or bananas?
what's that?
Um,
Apples.
apples, perfect. That has been the most popular fruit. I'm afraid bananas are better than apples, but I respect your decision to go with apples. Most people have, to be fair. But
Yeah.
Bhuvana, once again, thank you very much for that truly amazing talk. We didn't actually get to go through all of the questions. So if you're around in Gather Town, I'm sure some people would love to get some answers to the questions that they've asked, as well as just have a chat with you about it. Maybe you can create one of those little private spaces just for that conversation. And congratulations again
Yeah.
for winning the
Thank
competition.
you. Yeah, yeah, I'm so excited about it. I think it's like more of like some home office setup.
Yeah,
That's very the contentful. I'm so excited about that.
yeah.
And thanks for having me. And I will be catching up with the Gather Town in a while. Yeah, thanks. And also thanks for considering the ND space, and look forward to have one in the Gather Town soon. Thank you.
I'm sure. Thank you for the feedback. It has been a pleasure, Bhuvana, and I hope that we get to catch up again soon.